you know what's interesting and about this whole thing was that like, and I sent this to you guys too, and I've pretty much told a lot of people this within earshot, is that like Bruce Willis, before we get into the sad news, Bruce Willis actually has two albums. And I would advise you to at least listen to The Return of Bruno, his debut album, which was essentially the basis for a documentary, an HBO documentary, which is kind of a pain in the ass to find. But it was about Bruce Willis kind of went Chris Gaines, like Garth Brooks, although he wasn't trying to be somebody completely different, but it was a mockumentary about him being a singer. And he actually released an album, and it's pretty damn good. Both of his albums are decent. The Return of Bruno's good. And I'm not going to lie, on my bar jukebox app that I have on my phone, Coming Right Up by Bruce Willis is in like my top 10 plays. You know, that is a capital B for Bruce banger right there. But this is some sad news right here. Last week, I think a lot of people were shocked by this. And I mean, I think, it is shocking. It is shocking is that Bruce Willis is going to retire. He is retired now, effectively from film, from acting, diagnosed with aphasia, which I think a lot of us had to Google. It's a cognitive disorder that affects a person's ability to communicate. It often develops in people who have suffered from strokes or other head trauma, which kind of makes sense, at least the latter for Bruce Willis. And this was rumored for a while, because if you've kept your finger on the pulse of Bruce Willis as of late, Bruce Willis has done a lot of schlocky, third-rate action movies. The guy has done, I looked it up and I tallied it even too, 22 movies in the last 4 years. And I'm willing to bet most of them you haven't even heard of. I'm willing to bet you haven't heard of any of them. The only one that really stuck out to me was Midnight in the Switchgrass with Megan Fox. The only reason I knew that one is because they actually recycled the exact same photo of Bruce Willis for that movie as they did in another movie. That shows you the kind of level of these movies that he was a part of these last 4 years. The Razzies, which now retroactively looks like oof, the Razzies devoted an entire category to him for worst Bruce Willis performance because he did 8 movies alone in the year 2021. But this has been rumored for a while, though, is that he's been suffering from dementia. That was the rumor, because there was a lot of people. And if you went on like film Twitter, quote unquote, or a couple of these like Mashable, like movie sites, there was a few articles that were talking about people who have worked with him. And it was like, it wasn't like a derogatory, like, oh my God, he was insufferable or he didn't want to do anything. No, it was like from a point of concern. It was like, he's not doing well and he has an earpiece or an earwig where we feed him his lines, or his lines have to be like drastically cut so they can be like efficient as possible. He only works a couple days out of the week. And it was like a collective call for concern of what was going on with Bruce Willis. And I'm trying to remember the last time he was in like a big movie. I'm trying to remember the last like big thing he did off the top of
The
my head.
Expendables, I think.
I think it had to be The Expendables. And he did A Good Day to Die Hard. That's even several.
Oh, right. Oh, no. I think that one. Yeah.
But yeah, he's been, like I said, he's been doing movies. And I think the goal with these movies, I don't know if it was explicitly stated, but I think the goal with these movies was for him to just get as much money as he possibly could while he could to secure his family, his daughter Rumor, to just secure his family. Although I have a hard time believing Bruce Willis was ever hurting. I don't think Bruce Willis is Nick Cage with his money. But it's sad nonetheless, because you know what? Like, great people, great actors, great individuals. I don't care if you're a great salesman, great plumbers, great broadcasters, nobody deserves this, but especially greats in their field deserve a curtain call worthy of their career or worthy of them as people. And it's sad that now what's probably going to wind up happening with Bruce Willis, to no fault of his own, to no control of his own, he's probably going to go out the Glenn Campbell way. Yep. Like, he's going to go out like country singer Glenn Campbell, where you seldom hear updates. Maybe you get a documentary, although I don't even think I'd want that, truthfully, because that Glenn Campbell documentary was brutal to get. Like, not bad, but just brutal, emotionally brutal.
Yeah.
You're going to wind up getting to a point of like, and I hate to say it, but like, you're probably going to get sparing updates on his condition, and they're not going to be good updates. They're not going to be good updates. And then eventually the inevitable is going to happen. And it's going to be very shrouded in secrecy, reclusiveness. And that is so unfair. That is fair. I keep saying this ever since my mother died. Fair applies to Ferris wheels and funnel cakes. It does not apply to life. And that couldn't be truer. I think when we all saw the news about Bruce Willis. Dom, you're chomping at the bit. I'm talking too much. What do you have to say?
It's just a sad situation. It's the long goodbye that either with this condition or dementia or a terminal illness, it's bad, and you hate to see it happen. And it's like, it really dawned on me that this was going to be how it happened when I read a New Yorker article on Bruce Willis, and the beginning was like some stories on how we got here, or like the contextualizing the past few movies or the past decade or so of Bruce Willis's seemingly bad career, but then it just started going over like his whole life as an actor. I'm like, oh damn, this is kind of like a eulogy in a way. This is like the article that they put out when you go, and I kept seeing it through other publications. Like, yeah, this is it. This is the long goodbye, and it's gonna be really, it's just really sad. Quick aside, I don't think the Razzies should feel bad about it. Like, literally no one knew that this was happening. Totally fair game if you made fun of Bruce Willis's career before the announcement. And it's like no one knew. It's like, yeah, if he was hiding the fact, then sure, yeah, you can make fun of him all he wants. That's what he's I respect him enough as an artist to say that his art was trash in those years. But considering today and considering that but at the same time, I also respect that is what he was doing for his family in the face of all of this. So it's particularly, I think with Glenn Campbell, that was bad. But for Bruce Willis, he's like, for guys our age, right? He's just been there always because we grew up with him as the action star. Obviously Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and all, pretty much the Expendables, right? The oldest of the Expendables.
Planet Hollywood.
Yeah, they were action stars too. Quintessential Hollywood action star. You think Hollywood action? Oh, okay, yeah, those guys. But Bruce Willis is a little closer because he came a little later. He's a little younger in that sense. And Die Hard, of course, was a little more towards our generations. We were still, when did it come out? 89. So I don't think we were even born yet, but a little closer to us than like, say, the first Terminator movie. And yeah, dude, watching Bruce Willis movies with my dad like that, I think every guy particularly is like, yeah, watching Bruce Willis movies with my dad, watching Die Hard with my dad. The Fifth Element too.
That's the Fifth Element. That's watching Bruce Willis movies with my dad. That's, you know what that is? That's the title of a really good country song.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Riley Green, get on that.
So I think this one's the fact that it's going to be really drawn out and sad. This was going to be a slow burn. And it's gonna suck, Joe. I don't know I don't know what's there to add, man.
Follow this uplifting conversation.
Yes, I will follow it with more uplifting takes here that we've been giving the entire time. It just sucks to hear because, there's other actors I've read, like Emilia Clarke suffered this, which led to her making her charity and everything. When she first got done making the first season of Game of Thrones, Sharon Stone is another actress that suffers from this as well. But Bruce Willis, it sucks seeing someone at this age deal with it too. Because we know, man, the guy's got not much left. And if this is happening now, it's just going to shorten everything even more. That, everything Steve was hitting on, where it's we'll get those updates here and there. It's Bruce Willis, blah, 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 blah. Bruce Willis, this and that. And it's just going to be I'll see it, I'll be like, shit. And I'll send it to the Sleepless with Steve chat, be like, man, he's doing worse.
The worst is going to be the reports. The worst is going to be Bruce Willis lost the ability to speak reports. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that's what you're gonna get though. That's what's gonna happen.
And it sucks because like I mean, plenty of my friends, they have their favorite 80s action stars, and it's always, for some reason, for most of them, it's either Stallone or Arnold. For me, it was always Bruce Willis because I thought Die Hard was the best of those action franchises, especially Die Hard with a Vengeance, which I know Steve agrees with me on, is the best of that franchise, and I think one of the best action movies in general, along with the first one.
That's a gold standard movie.
Yeah. For me, it's always been like, hey, Bruce Willis to me, like he's an amazing action star, but also he's good at just dramatic acting as well. Sixth Sense, Moonrise Kingdom, other films he's done that I'm just like, he can go beyond action, which is why I've always liked him and everything. And yeah, I used to take pop shots at him when I saw his, Redbox DVD, collection series that he did.
That's what it was. That's what it was. That's where you would see the new Bruce Willis movies in the damn Redbox.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, there he is, the old Brucey boy. Maybe he'll appear someday on the big screen again. But then reading this, it's like, shit, okay, that's why he was doing all those fucking movies then. Yeah, it just sucks to hear. I hate hearing it. I'm saddened by it. And I wish him, I know he won't see this, but I wish him and his family the best of luck. And, whatever time he has left before, like, the inevitable happens with this disease, I hope he enjoys it. I hope he gets, like, he lives his best.